2 years ago I got my first Zebra Mildliner highlighter pens. Now I made a little video. I thought they were great, but I honestly didn't know how much I was going to use them, but 2 years later I'm back to tell you I use them almost every day. I have really enjoyed using them so much. So I previously really didn't like highlighters because I don't like the bright fluorescent colours. But these are really different because they're soft shades and pastel colours. Now, if you don't know anything about the Zebra Mildliners, they're Japanese pens, they're double-ended, they're acid-free, they do not bleed through the paper, they're permanent when dry, they do dry quickly, but you can still blend with them, and they have odourless pigment ink, and they're translucent, so you can layer them up really beautifully. Now, the first one I got was a chisel tip. And I just wanted to try it because it was a pretty colour. It has a 3mm nib there, and on the other end we have the bullet tip, which is a fine liner 1mm line. What's really handy is whatever end you're using, the cap will fit on the other end so you don't lose the cap. Now I've only got a couple of chisel tips. They're great for me for doing like zigzaggy lines and patterns. I really love the brush pens, so of course I got some brush pens. So these again double-ended, a brush and a super fine. So the actual tip on these is quite firm compared to a lot of brush pens that I have, but you can still get a variable line, and what's really good is they're like brand new still, and I've used both of these pens here, these brush pens, alternately, and they are absolutely stunningly good condition still. And there on the other side is the little fine liner bullet tip. Now with these, they have the little colour code there, and it also has the name Smoke Blue. Now I started off with just a few of these, and then I don't know how much longer, maybe a year later, I decided I'm going to get some more pens, some more colours. And I noticed there was a different pen, a brush pen listed. So this one is called Mildliner Twin Tip Brush Pen, and this one is called Mildliner Brush Pen with a 0.5 to a 0.7mm line. However, the colours are all exactly the same, and as far as I can tell, the tip is the same. It's really strange that there's two different types listed. Again, bullet tip. The difference with this really is in Japanese, and there's a colour coding rather than a name. So all the codes start with WFT8, and this is MSB, which is Mild Smoke Blue. So, and these are just have the colours. This would just be called Smoke Blue, and that's Mild Smoke Blue, but they are exactly the same colours. So I've done some little examples. So with the twin tip pastel highlighter, the chisel tip, and obviously you can do the zigzaggy lines, then with my original brush pen, and then with the second brush pen that I got, and you can see here the examples of the two different pens. My lines are wobbly, but they are basically the same. So I'm not really sure why there are on some places two types listed, but you know, it doesn't matter which one you get, they work the same. Now originally there were 25 colours in the brush pen. I'm not sure with the chisel tip because I only bought 2 colours. I actually have 24 of the colours. Please ignore my trying to create a coral pink. I realised before I made this video I don't have a coral pink. I've missed it. I have 24 colours. But currently these 10 colours are not available in the brush pen, so when my brush pens do eventually run out, I can only replace them with the chisel tip, which is quite sad for me because I do prefer my brush pens. So when I look at these, all of these colours are currently in the chisel tip pens. Now of the 15 brush pen colours, 5 are classed as fluorescent, but as you can see, I don't really think the blue and the blue-green are very fluorescent. They're just pretty pastels as far as I can tell. These are a little bit more glowy. And then we have these lovely shades here. Now with the layering, you can see on the violet I've got 1, 2, 3 layers, and then on this one I've put the pink on top to show how it glows, and then I've put 1 layer of magenta. Now when you are layering, you do need a good surface on your paper. It's no good layering lots of layers onto a very flimsy paper. So on my 300 GSM card, I've got quite a few layers on there, so up to, I think I've got maybe up to 5 layers on some of these. With this mixed media paper I can also go up, I think I've had 7 layers. And there's one thing to be very careful, and that is not to scrub with these, because they are firmer, they keep their shape, but if you were to rub too hard you could damage the surface of your paper, so just be a little bit careful with that. So you can see I use them all the time for my Zentangle patterns. There's usually 3 layers there in different places. With this I like to do a little bit of blending. You can see how the highlighter, the pink and the fluorescent colours glow at the edges. I think the blues and the purples, they blend really nicely. And I mean, all of them do it, that you can just keep layering up and just creating all sorts of effects. With this I've used a couple of greens, and I've let some of the paper show through to have this sort of mottled effect, which I think is really pretty. And then with this pen I've used some mixed media, so I've got several layers of the Mildliner, and then I've used some Micron for some little lines and some detail, and some Jelly Roll. So they're very versatile pens. There's lots of ways you can incorporate them into your pictures.